Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Welcome once again to our class of Ramayana, in which we do several conversations on this literature, this divine literature that was created by Sage Valmiki. In the previous conversation, we were talking about the prosperity of God. I mean, His prosperity, His wealth, everything that we see on earth is for everyone. Every particle, every element that we see on earth is for every person, every creature, and that's why a single person should not be a dominator. He should, other hands, he should be a person who serves this community, this entire world, and that's how we could make a better place on earth. And that's what these verses were saying. And this is the theme, this is the element that was discussed, that was proposed by many of the social reformers that we see in the modern era. I mean, Sage Aurobindo, he was used to say, he said that a person, what is the journey of life? What do you mean by spirituality? What do you mean by moving on a divine path? And he said, self-realization to collective realization. First, understand yourself. First, uplift yourself. And inspire yourself, know yourself, awake yourself, and then awake everyone collectively. So this is the journey of a person. This is the journey of spirituality. This is a journey of an awakened person. I mean, to awake yourself first, and then shower the light that you got, shower the treasures that you got, scatter the pleasures and the blessings that you got to every person, because it's the right and it's the necessity of every person to get that. That's what our sages said, and especially Maharshi Dayananda, he said, Krinvanto Vishwam Aryam. I mean, he said that you make every person a noble person. Not you became a noble person in yourself. That's not the end of the journey. It's the start of the journey, that you become a noble person. And where it ends, when every person, every single human being becomes a noble person. That is the end of the journey. Until then, it cannot be said, you should not be suggested to stop your journey. So all the spiritual texts, especially Vedic text, and all the people related to our Vedic culture, they always said that this is the journey that works collectively. Sangachadvam samvadadvam. This was the talk, and this was the teaching of Vedas, and all our sages, awakened people, social reformers, that when we say, they all talk the same thing, that you work collectively. And when we are working collectively, then only we would be able to bring heaven, a good position, a good atmosphere on this earth, a good environment on this earth. And every person, when every person lives for everyone, when every person cares for everyone, when every person looks after another person, then this world would become a better place, and there would be no qualm, and there is no qualm in understanding that the world would be a better place when every person works the same way as it was directed by our sages, as it is directed by Vedas, as it is directed by all the spiritual and Vedic texts. So, and one more reference comes in my mind, I recall it, and it says, Ashmanvati riyate samrabhadvam. It's the verse, is a line of a verse of some Veda. I think it's the verse of Atharvaveda or so anyway. So it says this world is a rugged river. This entire world is a rugged river. And what happens when a river is shallow and rugged? It has a great rapid. The rapids of the river shoot at a great speed. And what to do in this river? This worldly river, which is so rugged, so shallow, and the water is flowing thoroughly with a great speed, high velocity. So, how to cross this river? How a person could cross this river, could traverse this river? Alone, he cannot do that. We usually see whenever we go to some mountainous region and we see rivers, they are not very deep as we see rivers in the plain areas, but they are so much fast and they're rugged. I mean, they have rock particles, they have rocks in their bed. So a person thinks that I could easily cross it, but when he moves into the river, and then he understands the rapids of the river are so high in velocity, and he stumbles and he falls down and he gets washed away by the river. So what is the way to cross this rugged river, this shallow river, this river with high speed, high intensity that we know, that we call this the river of materialism, this river of this world, basically? How to cross this river? And then the sage, I mean the verse of the Veda is saying, Samrapadham, you cross this river holding hands in hands, only then you'd be able to cross this river of materialism, this worldly river. The same way as it occurs when you cross some shallow river with high velocity, high speed. You hold hand in hand and you'll never fall down. Even if anyone falls down, the other person is there to bring him up. So that's how every person, when every person is responsible for every person, when every person is living for every person, when every person is thinking for every person's welfare, well-being, he's a well-wisher of everyone else that live around him, then this world would become a better place, and there is no qualm, there is no uncertainty in that the world would become a heaven. This is the way that our Vedas, that our Vedic scriptures, that our Vedic literatures, our sages, our social reformers, whatever you name them, they give us a way, they give us a path how this world could be transformed. Today, we stumble across many thoughts, many ideologies, many processes how this world could become a peaceful place. And this is the most exhaustive process, most exhaustive ideology, that you start working for others, you start thinking for others, you start well-wishing for others, and then you'd see the whole eternity, the whole nature starts working for you. That's how, when you start moving towards welfare of this nature starts thinking the welfares of yours. This is how this world can become a better place, and it starts from you. And how it starts? When you have realized yourself, when you have realized your powers, your strengths, your abilities, your responsibilities, your accountabilities, and your nature. Who you are, what your work is, what your rights are, and what your duties are. When you have understood this, then you'd be able to help this world collectively. This is the sense, this is the meaning, this is the vastness of this phrase, what Sage Aurobindo said, self-realization to collective realization. This is how we could make this world a better place, and this is the main reason we are here, okay? A human being does many things, okay, according to his intellect, and one thing that is the most important thing, that is the sole purpose of human being, is to create a humanitarian society. I mean, create a world where there is only peace, where there is brotherhood, where there is humanity, where there is oneness among people. And this all divisions based on caste, called creed, culture, country, religion wipes away. And we live on one world that is called Earth, with all the boundaries regarding whatever, I mean caste, religion, and country, whatever boundaries there are, by whatever means we have diverged ourselves, by whatever means we have divided ourselves, when all these boundaries are wiped away, washed away, then only this thought, this belief, this life, and this peaceful environment will be created. And this is the work, this is the purpose of a human being, to just spread brotherhood to every species that we see around us, and have a sense of empathy, sympathy towards every creature, not only human race. Every animal, every particle on this earth have the equal right to live his life, its life, as we do. We didn't give anyone, we didn't make any cell of this earth. We cannot make either. And so how do we have the right, how could we possess the right to end the life of any creature? Just to fill our appetite, just to pacify our appetite? Here comes the ideology that the killing animals, this killing spree that's going on just to fill our appetite, just to pacify our tongue, is bad, it's not moral. So have feelings, have same feelings that you possess for another human being, the same feeling you should possess towards an animal. He is speechless, he's nonverbal, it cannot speak, it can't express its sorrow when we cut the animals into pieces and eat them. Also have your empathy, sympathy towards those elements of nature who cannot speak, who cannot express their sorrow, who cannot express their pain. Okay? Who else will do that? We have the intellect, we have the knowledge, we have the power to understand this thing. That's why we are called human. That's why we are the best creation of the Creator. There is no other specialty in us other than this. We have the power to understand the feelings of anyone, of an animal who is nonverbal, who cannot express its sorrow, its grief. When we cut him, when he is cut just to fill our appetite, fill our stomach. So here comes the thought process, here comes the ideology of vegetarianism. I mean, every person, every human being. I mean, we are structurally herbivores. Our canines, our entire digestive system, our entire existence just resembles herbivores, characteristics of herbivores. And we have created ourselves an omnivores. That's not good. So we should think about it. We should think for the welfare of every creature on this earth. Thinking for a human being is the first step. And then extending this ideology, extending this nature, extending this thought, extending this feeling and emotion towards all the creatures on this earth. Only then we'd be able to say that I am following the rules and regulations of nonviolence. Nonviolence doesn't mean that you don't persecute, you're not exploiting a human being. It means that you are not exploiting anyone, any single element on this earth. And when you have developed this ideology, this mentality, then you'd be able to say that I am truly a person who follows nonviolence. This is the sense, this is the extended version of nonviolence that we pay our attention when we start living for the welfare of every creature on this earth. And in the next verse, we are moving towards the next verse, that the sage is saying, what is the time? What is the prime time to understand the scripture? I mean, there is a time division in our life. Every work requires a certain time. I mean, in the morning, our cadences are soft. When we move from morning towards afternoon, we get a little high-pitched. And then again, the volume gradually decreases towards the night, and in the night we sleep. Night is meant for sleeping and morning for waking up. And now, if you reverse this thing, just start sleeping in the morning and waking up at night, you'd see your body will not function well. Your body will not approve that. So every time has its own importance in life. I mean, everything. If we are meditating, the best time period for meditation is morning and the peaceful hours of evening. And now, not understanding this thing, if anyone says, I want to meditate in the afternoon, he would not achieve those signals, those vibrations that remain on earth during morning time. So every part of time has its own value. And so the sage is saying, what is the prime time to understand the scripture? So, especially morning time. It doesn't matter that when this episode is viewed on Vedic channel, whatever time it is, but you take your feelings, your emotions whenever you see it. But the prime time to hear the scripture is morning time and the soothing hours of night, when everything is peaceful, when everything is calm in your life, when you return from your job, do all your jobs. Before, there are two times, before starting your job and after you did all your jobs. So these two times are the times when you should hear this knowledge, when you should, before starting job, why should you hear this knowledge before starting your job? Let's see. Before you start your materialistic, your worldly jobs, you should hear it, because when you hear this, you get tuned to the vastness, to this knowledge, and your entire day passes away in a peaceful way. Whatever work you do, you are always aligned to this knowledge, you're always aligned to this wisdom, you're always aligned to these divine qualities. And when you start inputting all these divine qualities in your work becomes divine, your work becomes knowledgeable, your work becomes appreciable. So every person will praise your work, and you yourself will feel contentment by your work, that whatever work you did, it was just pure work. It didn't harm anyone, because your knowledge always told you what to do and what not to do. So this is the importance of the knowledge when you hear it in the morning time and after work. Whatever good you did, whatever bad you did, whatever right decisions you took, whatever wrong decisions you took, to understand them, to revise them, and become the person that those mistakes never happen again, you need to hear the scripture after your work. So just examine yourself, that what were your mistakes during the entire day. And when you hear that, when you understand that, when you achieve that, and when you accumulate all those knowledges in yourself, you would never commit those mistakes the second time, whenever you do that work. So these two times are called the basic times, the prime times to hear the scripture. And in the next lines, it is said that a person, how should be the mentality, what should be the emotional quality, emotional part of a person when he hears the scripture. It is said that a person who is completely bright in himself, okay? It is expressed here by that dark lunar fortnight, okay? When the moon is shading, when the moon is getting smaller and smaller. So it's called dark lunar fortnight. So it also occurs in every person's life. Sometimes we remain in darkness, sometimes we remain in brightness. So when a person remains in darkness, when his activities, when his performances resemble darkness, then he would not be able to absorb this knowledge. Because if any person streaks off towards sin and remains untouched from the truth that somebody is watching him all the time, this scripture gives us the knowledge, gives us the true knowledge that someone, some divine entity is watching you all the time. And when a person understands this, that person is called to be in a bright state. And when he knows that there is someone who is knowing me all the time, who is watching me all the time, who is looking after me all my activities, and never commits sin. And that person is the real person who would absorb the teachings and the truths and the suggestions, opinions of the scriptures, and he transform his life to a better life, and always uplift himself, always work towards uplifting himself towards all the phases of life. That's how the person should be, who is understanding and learning and studying this scripture. And regarding this black nature of a person, this bright nature of a person, this good state of a person, this evil state of a person, the scripture is saying who is eligible to understand, to learn this scripture. And it says the person who has bright mind, who has no sin in himself, who is sinless. Every moment we become sinless and sinful person. Every person, anyone is sinless right now doesn't mean that after 1 hour, sin wouldn't arrive in him. So every hour, every moment in life, we need to be vigilant. It could come anytime. Whenever, this sin, this evil, this malevolent forces appear in a person, only appear in a person when there is a scarcity of goodness. When there is a scarcity of good things, divine things. Only then these things appear in a person, make their home in a person's body. When we are full with goodness, with brightness, with divine qualities, then these natures would never arrive in us. Whenever we forget our true selves, whenever we forget who we are, whenever we forget the true purpose of our lives, then only these bad qualities, these malevolent qualities, these evil forces come in us, and the person becomes a sinful person. So this is the truth, this is the ideology, this is the true thing, that how a person becomes sinful and how he becomes sinless. Okay? So whenever a person is committing sin, when he feels that there is no one is watching him, when a person is committing sin, it's a question when a person commits sin. Whenever he's feeling that no one is watching him. If you tend to do bad work, and if there are many people, hundreds of people around you, you'd never do a bad work in front of crowds, in front of bad people. Only the time when you're alone, you do bad works. You think to yourself. So a person commits sin only when he's alone. Because sin is in itself a dark thing, and it requires darkness to be done. Darkness in the sense that there is no one watching you. And when the person starts understanding through this cryptic knowledge, through the scriptures, through this vast truth, that there is someone, there is some energy, there is some power, divine power, away and completely much more uplifted than this materialistic world, is watching you from all sides, then he'd never commit any sin. This is the sense of this knowledge, this is the truth of this knowledge, this is the importance of this knowledge. It helps us and it prevents us from doing any bad thing that we ever want to do. And when the person understands this thing, then he never turns his life towards any sinful works, any bad works, any devil works, any sort of sinful works. And that's how the person becomes eligible to read this scripture. And when he studies this scripture, when he understands this scripture, absorbs the knowledge of the scripture in himself, he becomes a greater person. And this is how we could turn this world into a better place. So today we discuss about the importance of the scripture and how we would be able to turn ourselves, our lives, a better life, and through that thing, through that knowledge, through that true knowledge, through that power that we gain in ourselves, how we'd be able to transform this world into a better place, so that it becomes a heaven on earth. And it's our duty, it's our right, and it's our fundamental responsibility that we make this place, make this planet, make this earth, make this world a better place for everyone. Thank you. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Shaktihi